Hey guys, so today I wanted to show you how to make rock, paper, scissors using GamePro, teach you a little bit about JavaScript, CSS, and even a little bit HTML, and GamePro, boom. So then the first thing you want to do is create your index page. Basically, you want to make sure this is lowercase. The index page is the first page that people land on when they go to your website. Then you want to make some elements maybe, or open up the style sheet. You can make the game itself change its color using CSS. And so you can see there's game frame class here that we're changing the background to indigo. And so when we run it, you can see the background color of the game frame itself is indigo. Game frame is something that GamePro gives you. So you have access to change those properties. Then we're going to create an element. This element is going to be our background. So we're going to call this one a card because it's just going to be a card. And we're going to make a class for it. We add the class card. We can add some other properties like its position and its size. So that's going to basically make it the whole screen. And we go back to pages, index page, and add some styles to our style sheet. We'll add the card, background white, and then we're gonna add a couple more things to this one. We want the border to be 9-pixel border radius. And I wouldn't say worry about the padding. I added padding in this video, but don't add padding. You're probably not gonna need it when using GamePro, to be honest. Then the next thing we want to do is add our rock, paper, and scissors button. So you can see I'm adding the rock element. I changed the element from a span to a button, and maybe give it some kind of a class. I think I add class action to this one. Also give it some size so that we're able to see it. And you're able to see me use the set XY, but as of right now, it is broken on Apple, so it does look a little busted. But it works well on desktop. Then we're going to add some JavaScript. Using JavaScript, we're going to set the inner text. And so GamePro gives you the element as a variable called L, and you're able to change the inner text by using L.innerText equals, and then setting it equal to a string. So we're gonna set it equal to a string with rock as the value, and a string is just the quotation marks. Then we're gonna add a class, probably the action class, and we're gonna style it on the page style sheet. Here you can see I'm adding box shadow. Box shadow just really gives anything that you can click on like really nice pop. You can see a little shadow on the bottom and the right side of it. Now that I have my rock button, I'm just going to make my paper and scissors button. I'm going to change their element to a button, add the action class, and set their XY to be the same, and the same width and height, but different X and Y. But I think actually they should all be on the same Y, but have different X's. So I'll just skip to when that's complete. And now we need some kind of enemy, or like, the enemy's dialogue, so we can see what our opponent has chosen. And I'm going to change this element to a paragraph, which in HTML is represented as a p tag. And I'm going to make its own class called enemy. Style that guy up. One trick I like to do when styling paragraphs is I like to make their background red and position them where I would like them to be, then change the styling to however I would like it to be. That way it's easy to see where they are and easy to position them. And I just kind of guess and check everything into position. After the enemy, we're going to add the victory just to see who won. And I'm going to add or I guess result. That's what I ended up calling it. Paragraph, and we're going to add the enemy class because I'm lazy. Okay, so this video is going to assume, very little about JavaScript. I'm going to try to explain what's going on. When I say let choice, I'm creating a variable, and basically a variable is something that stores data. It's a noun, but in JavaScript, it can also be a verb. It can be a command that is run, or it could be a name or a number. So the choice is going to be rock, paper, or scissors. The enemy choice is going to be rock, paper, or scissors, right? And we have those two variables. Then I'm going to create a function called select. And basically when we click on one of these buttons, we want to run a verb, right? Or a function called select. And so this is the old way to create functions. You might see this in a lot of JavaScript tutorials. I'm going to show you how to create it the old way, and then I'm going to show you how to create it the new way. The new way is a lot better. It's a lot smaller, it's cuter, and it's way better for the game engine. It's easier to read, in my opinion. But to each their own, of course. We're also going to need to create an array of options, but here you can see we are using math. Now this math.floor, math.random is just going to get me a random number between 0 and 3, but the math.floor is going to round down because it's going to be like 1 point a trillion different digits. So you just math.floor to round down. Then we have our options array. So an array is just a group of variables. And the way you signify an array is that bracket, okay, square bracket. And an array can also be a variable. So options is our array variable. And what we're saying is enemy choice equals a random option. Because all we're doing is we're getting a random number, and that random number is going to get 0, 1, or 2, which is going to return rock, paper, or scissors. Then you can see in the new way of doing it, we just make a variable the same way we had before, except instead of using let, we use const, which is the same thing, just you can't change it, is the only difference. Let you can change over and over again. Const you cannot change. So in our function, you can see now the parameter is the val, the equal sign, greater than is the function itself. This data here, data select is going to save the select function across all of the elements in the page, but only for the page. Okay, then we're going to say choice equals the one that you select, and then we are going to make an if statement. And an if statement is just when something happens, it's going to run the code underneath it. So we're going to say if the choice and the enemy choice is the exact same, return tie. Now I'm using this return. What does return mean? Basically, when we run the function, it's going to give us back something, but I'm not going to use it in this video. I'm actually going to change it later on, so don't worry too much about it. But the if statement itself, so I'm saying if choice equals rock. Now the 3 equal signs is just means return. It's gonna return true or false if it's true. So like if choice, the variable, equals rock, the string, then it's going to return true. And if enemy choice is equal to paper, then we're going to be returning defeat because we lost, or return victory, return defeat, return victory. We're basically going to check for rock, paper, and scissors. Just copy and paste. It should not take too long. Now we are going to add an event listener to our button. So you can say I press the L dot add event listener, which is going to take one of those functions that we created and a string. What kind of event do we want? So this is going to be on click whenever our element is clicked. And this is the rock button. We're going to have one of those functions that we created, but this one doesn't have a variable. This is just a function created on the fly, which is called lambda in JavaScript. Then when we click, we want to run the select data function. So we're going to say data select, and then another on the outside set of parentheses, and that one is going to call the function, and we're going to pass in the val parameter that we set earlier, and the val parameter is going to be rock for the rock button, paper for the paper button, and scissors for the scissor button. And now val in our function before is going to be equal to that string or the variable scissors, rock, paper. And on click, we're going to run the select function. And so on the enemy, we want to create a update text sort of function, and we also want to do the same thing for results. Alright, so in our update text function, we're going to ask for a value parameter. We have these backticks, which is under the escape key. There's those backticks. And basically that's going to allow us to put a token into the code, so we can put a variable into our string by using that $sign and then the open squiggly, close squiggly. And then we're going to save that function as update enemy, and we're going to make an update result as well. But this time we're just going to we're going to take the value and directly set that to the inner text. And now instead of returning, like I said before, we would return, what we're going to do is we're going to just say result equals, which is a new variable, right? And we're going to set that variable, instead of returning it, to the string that we get. And we're going to set that string to the update of the result. And the update of the enemy is just going to take the enemy choice. Update result is just going to take the result. And so now we should actually be able to play it. And you can see rock, paper, scissors. They choose paper, it's a tie. They choose scissors, I lose. I choose rock, they choose scissors, I win. So it's working, but we can't really remember what we pressed. So I am going to change it so that the enemy, I'm just showing you full screen mode, which is kind of broken on the iPad, but it works great on desktop. Works great on desktop. Okay, so then I show you changing the result text, because I want it to, or the enemy text, so that it's gonna take 2 parameters instead of 1. So then we have the comma there, and we can name those parameters anything we want. So I just call it P. And then you can see this is kind of the cool part about the backticks, is we can say versus or something. I was gonna make it extra, but I decided not to, so there you go. And then it's undefined. It's because we have to pass the parameter in on the card. So we're gonna say choice, comma, enemy choice. And that is going to give us what we pressed. Rock versus paper is a defeat. Rock versus scissors is a victory. And let's see if we can get a tie in order to make sure everything works. Yep, rock versus rock is a tie. Alright guys, thanks a bunch for watching. I know I didn't do such a great job of explaining everything, but I hope it was easy to follow along, and I hope you learned something new. Watch this video a couple times and maybe it'll just click. Thank you so much for watching. Check out more videos on my channel by leaving a like, subscribing, hitting the bell icon for more notifications. Check out my Facebook page and leave a like there too. See you guys.